morning. Welcome to a fresh edition of the Breakfast from Leadership Ambition inside Nigeria. Today is September 15, 2025, and all too soon we are in the middle of the month of September. My name is Winifred Ubaba, your host on the program. And of course, without much ado, let's go straight to our newspaper review, where we have a lineup of newspapers for review this Monday. And of course, we have Nigeria's most influential leadership. And of course, every Monday we also have our sister publication, National Economy, a weekly business newspaper. Let's go straight to leadership and see what leadership has on its menu this Monday. And of course, our headline story, we are taking it from the story atop the masthead of leadership. We've now submitted list of state chairmen to INEC from the newly inaugurated or endorsed party by INEC, that is ADC. Of course, the news has been making the rounds over the weekend that leadership tussle is tearing the party apart, which was just recognized by INEC. And however, in response to that, ADC has come out to say that they are yet to submit list of state chairmen to INEC. The story continues on page 30 of leadership. We've not submitted the list of state chairmen to INEC. Obviously, we'll go to page 30 of leadership to get some excerpts from that leading story. The national leadership of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has said the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has not released and validated a list of state party chairmen for the ADC across the country. The party said INEC only recognizes what it submits through the appropriate channels after due process, adding that no such comprehensive list has been submitted or confirmed by the commission. The party was reacting to a widely circulated statement titled Coalition Update. INEC confirms ADC state chairmen nationwide, which proposed that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has released and validated a list of state party chairmen for the ADC across the country. The National Publicity Secretary of ADC, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, said the report is fake news, obviously engineered by individuals' determination to sow confusion within the party and mislead the public. In a statement, he said INEC, to the best of the party's knowledge and verification, has issued no such confirmation, neither officially nor unofficially. However, we have our guest in the studio to throw light on the story. But however, we also have another leadership analyst of the evacuate now communities near Niger, Benue, Congola, Rivers, Stone, and that is Bidon. Ms. Bidon, good morning and welcome to the site of Inside Nigeria. Bidon, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, editor.
You're welcome. Good to have you on today's show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you anchor today's leading stories, main leading story actually on leadership. Evacuate now communities tell Niger, Benue, Gongola, Rivers, as federal government issues fresh flood alert to 10 northern states. That is 11 states altogether. Now, Bidon, you anchor this leading story on today's leadership. What is happening here? Because the federal government has been issuing flood alerts to states since the rainy season. Is it that it's going to get worse now, or why this sudden flood alert?
Oh, okay. The Fuel Center is responsible for issuing alerts, and the essence for that is so that stakeholders, state governments, agencies that are responsible for environmental agencies that are responsible for mitigating some of these alerts should take action. So these are proactive steps that they have always issued almost every month. That is done. So as we know, flood is a natural disaster. It's a natural disaster which can be caused by heavy rainfall that has been sustained for over a period of time. So, but the major issue is how do we mitigate it? So that is always the issue for us as a nation. And over a period of time, people have always flown caution into the air. And where you see people building along water pathway or blocking people's activities, blocking a water pathway. And whenever there is this sustained rainfall over a period of time, you see that water cannot pass, and eventually it can cause flooding and loss of properties and even lives in most cases. So, but the essence is that there should be awareness, and that is what they have been creating. But unfortunately for us Nigerians, adherence to that is another thing, and that has been a major issue for citizens adhering to some of these things, because some of these people, most times you feel you may not blame them. Some of these people are staying, that's their means of livelihoods around the areas they stay, around these riverine areas. But it's dangerous, because at the end of the day we are seeing where people have lost their lives due to some of these non-adherence to flood prone areas. So that's another case, mitigating it, and that's the essence for that action.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bidon. Bidon, now, would you say that this year's flood alert by federal government agencies has actually done a lot to alleviate the situation? Because of this year, we've not read so much of high casualty figures from flood.
Yeah, yes, of course, yeah. As we saw last year and subsequent years, we knew about the issues that were associated to flood, and how it ravaged so many communities. Some people were unsettled, and but this year, because people are becoming aware of the danger of these activities. At least the federal government also has risen to its game, and largely I think it has been mitigated, and we hope that it gets better. So that is all the action. These proactive steps to getting people aware of the dangers that are coming ahead, and people taking steps to ensuring that they stay safe, has helped to reduce some of the occurrences that we have had over
All
the
right.
years.
Now, Bidon, lastly, on this leading story today on leadership, apart from issuing flood alerts every now and then, every year during rainy season, don't you think a permanent solution to this has to be taken by the federal government?
Yeah, like I told you earlier, flood is a natural disaster. This is something that happens even in developed societies, and irrespective of wherever. I think, like I said, due to heavy rainfall, which we cannot control, and also sometimes it could happen due to when river banks are broken. So you see, some of these things are things that happens. But I think the major issue about it is mitigating the effect. So, and that stopping it completely. We saw where America and European nations were ravaged with flood, and it's irrespective of who you are, that can happen. But I think the major focus should be how we can be able to mitigate, how we can be able to control the ones we can be able to control. And I hope it's done well. By it's a collective effort, though. It's not just for the government alone. It's for everybody to and ensure that is safe from flooding.
All right. Thank you so much, Bidon, for taking time out today to be our guest on the set of Inside Nigeria. Our viewers, we've had the pleasure of talking to leadership's analyst, Bidon. Thank you so much. Now we'll go back to the review of our front
Thank you.
headline stories, starting with leadership newspaper. Leadership says, we go, leadership says, Obi visits Ladoja, hails Ibadan's role in Nigeria's history. That is on the strip of leadership. Obi visits Ladoja, hails Ibadan's role in Nigeria's history. Monetary Policy Committee members project Naira at 1,400 Naira per dollar by year end. Cardinal flood, body of missing 3-year-old girl found. Preachers must submit sermons for approval. Niger State Governor Bago. Preachers must submit sermons for approval. Of course, it's no longer news that Niger State Governor Bago actually banned preaching. Of course, you have to, and insisting that you have to, preachers or clerics have to get licenses before they can preach. In reaction to that, he said they must submit sermons for approval, coming from the Niger State governor. And the story continues on page 34 of the paper. Early campaigns, INEC required to charge violators, says Falana. The story is on page 4. And of course, this is also a leading story. The INEC chair, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has actually come out to say that INEC is helpless in tackling these early campaigns violators, and that it also puts his job at risk because he's not able to trace campaign funds. In reaction to that, Falana, the senior advocate of Nigeria, is tasking INEC to charge violators. That story is on page 4 of Leadership newspaper. And still on the cover, the North can take power back in 2027, says the Niger State Governor Bago. And on the business boss, London court dismisses ownership claim on property linked to General Hussaini, rejects Ozekome's bid to transfer ownership. London court dismisses ownership claim on property linked to General Hussaini, rejects Ozekome's bid to transfer ownership. That takes us to the stories above the masthead. One we just talked about at the beginning of review of leadership, and that is on the submission of state chairman list to INEC by ADC. And the second last story on the cover, why we suspended strike, coming from resident doctors. That takes us to page 3 of the paper, where we have our stand. Today's stand is on the NIWA enforcement problem. The NIWA enforcement problem. Let's take some excerpts from today's stand. Another boat has capsized, another 100 lives lost or forever changed. The National Inland Waterways Authority rolls out freight directives, announces new measures, claims a 70% reduction in accidents. But here's what troubles us. The bodies keep floating to the surface. In October 2024, over 200 passengers plunged into the waters at Bajibo village in Niger State. Just months earlier, more than 40 people went missing in Sokoto when their boats capsized. The list reads like a recurring nightmare. 60 dead in Niger State this month, over 70 in Wara in 2021, more than 100 in Mokwa in 2022, 103 in Kwara in 2023. Each incident follows the same tragic pattern: overloaded boats, no life jackets, submerged obstacles, and families left counting the missing. NIWA Managing Director Bola Oyebamiji paints a different picture. Since taking office in October 23, he claims the authority has transformed waterway safety through comprehensive reforms. We'll just move towards towards the conclusion, where the paper takes a stand. Is on stand. It says, in communities where official jetties don't exist or are conveniently located, passengers will continue using traditional boarding points regardless of regulations. What Nigeria needs is honest acknowledgement that waterway safety cannot be achieved through regulatory announcements and equipment distribution alone. It requires sustained investment in alternative transportation infrastructure, economic support for communities that depend on water transport, and realistic enforcement strategies that account for local conditions. To the excerpts from today's stand in leadership, the NIWA enforcement problem. From today's stand, we move to the back page, where we have Monday column with Joshua Ocheja. Joshua Ocheja will also be writing fortnightly on this Monday back page of the paper, Monday column. And today is writing on Operation Enduring Peace on the Plateau. Operation Enduring Peace on the Plateau. The populace expect so much from the military. They want the military to prove its might. Interestingly, times have changed. We're in an era of asymmetric warfare. Quote from that Monday's column, Operation Enduring Peace on the Plateau. Before we leave the back page, we always want to visit Ghana Must Go. The federal government says Nigerians will enjoy 24-hour power supply soon. And of course, Ghana Must Go says, and just like every other Nigerian, including yours sincerely, they have started again. It's on that note we conclude review of Leadership newspaper this Monday. For more, log into the website of Leadership. We move to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Nigerian Tribune. Schools have resumed today, and that is the story for cover on Nigerian Tribune. Parents groan as schools resume 2025/2026 academic year. We have no option but to increase fees, school owners. Stakeholders seek ban on mandatory sale of books by schools. That story continues on page 12 of Nigerian Tribune. Dangote Refinery accuses Dapman of misleading Nigerians. Says it offers cheaper fuel despite importing 60% of crude. That story is on page 29 of Leadership. Of course, Dangote Refinery and even OPENG controversies continue to headline the national discourse. There seems to be no end in sight. Today's story on the select newspapers we have on our lineup is now Dangote and Dapman. Dangote Refinery accuses Dapman of misleading Nigerians. Travelers at risk as scams extortion rampant at Lagos airport. Akpabio commends to Nigerians bear with Tinubu over economic hardship. And in health news today on Nigerian Tribune, drinking too little water predisposes to stress. Drinking too little water predisposes to stress. In other words, drinking much water gives you that calmness. Nigeria's economy back on global investors' radar, according to analysts. Says CBN's forex overhaul, stable naira spark renewed confidence despite lag in long-term FDIs. Legal profession in turmoil over MBA's mandatory training. Is the new policy a fix or flaw? Senior lawyers speak out. We move to the story above the masthead of Nigerian Tribune. Governor Adeleke has surpassed APC's 12-year record under 3 years. Osun student leaders. Failed opposition aspirants should see what even the blind are saying, according to the governor Adeleke. And that concludes the review of front headline stories on Nigerian Tribune this Monday. For more, log into the website of Nigerian Tribune. We move to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is The Guardian. Guardian also has similar story like that of Nigerian Tribune. Back to school. Parents struggle with steep tuition hike as schools wrestle rising OPES. Punish politicians in early election campaigns. Serap tests INEC. Almost same leading story we have on the cover of Leadership today. Falana this time. 11 states may experience heavy rain this week. Federal government wants. Same leading story on Leadership newspaper. Shekarau's PDP chairmanship. ADA's prospects unsettle ADC coalition. Experts divided over Fubara's return as emergency rule expires Thursday. Aregbesola condemns APC's economic policies. Don blames poor nutrition policy execution for 45% child morbidity. That concludes review of front headline stories on The Guardian this Monday. For more, log into www.guardian.ng. Now we move to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is The Punch. The Punch is on Rivers State's emergency rule, which comes to a close or comes to an end on the 18th of this month. Iba's defense's month tenure as opposition demands probe. Emergency rule. Iba's defense's month tenure as opposition demands probe. Leading story of The Punch newspaper. PDP Labour Party must up others call for accountability as Fubara returns September 18. Wike Fubara Shon transition Thanksgiving service. Of course, we have the picture of this Rivers State Zoo administrator doing his Thanksgiving ceremony yesterday in commemoration of his transitional activities, 6 months transitional activities in the state. States pledge quality education as schools resume today. Lagos top 6-story building construction after Punch report. Ogun urges residents to relocate over flood threat. Beside the masthead, INEC Catholic bishops clash over 2023 poll credibility. Atop the masthead of the Punch, Dangote deploys 1,000 trucks, IPMA rallies marketers. Crude earnings fall by 3.18 trillion naira amid output surge. Kanu seeks transfer from DSS to National Hospital. That story is on page 9, that story is on page 3, even as we bring to a close the review of front headline stories on the Punch this Monday. For more, log into the website of the Punch newspaper. We move ahead to the sister publication, and that is our last paper for review on today's show, Inside Nigeria, and that is National Economy. National Economy's leading story says extortion on the road, stop motor park touts now. Nigerian state government. Extortion on the road, stop motor park touts now. Nigerian state government. Stakeholders call for regulation, e-ticketing, and tougher enforcement to curb illegal collections. The crushing weight of 36% interest rates on Nigerian businesses. That story is on page 21 of National Economy. The crushing weight of 36% interest rates on Nigerian businesses. Atop the masthead of National Economy, federal government scraps 5% telecom tax to ease subscriber burden. Local airlines to pay duty, VAT on aircraft tickets 2026. That is taking effect from the new tax Reform Act, which is flagging off January 2026. Before we leave National Economy, let's see the editorial. The editorial is on democracy as anchor of Nigeria's economic future. Today's editorial on National Economy. And with that, we conclude review of front headline stories and the editorial of National Economy this Monday, September 15, 2025. For more, don't forget to log into the website of National Economy, www.nationaleconomy.com. 5 years, that's it on today's show, Inside Nigeria, your professional leadership television. My name is Winifred Weber, your host on the program. Don't forget to join us on this station for news on the hour. Thanks for joining us.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God